let's unpack this. Today, we're embarking on a deep dive into psilocybin. You probably know it as magic mushrooms. The material we've gathered, it really gives a detailed look, history, effects, and some pretty crucial safety info. So our mission for you today is to pull out the most important bits from like ancient rituals right up to modern research and those essential harm reduction strategies. We want you to be truly well-informed.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here, I think, is that this compound, psilocybin, it's actually naturally occurring, found in, over 200 mushroom species, and it converts pretty quickly in the body to psilocin. That's the bit that gives those mind-altering effects. Kind of similar to LSD in some ways. But this isn't some new fad, right? Indigenous cultures, they've used it for thousands of years. Ceremonies, spiritual practices.
Okay, so we've got the ancient roots. But where it gets really interesting for me is how it's now cropping up in, like, cutting-edge medicine. What are the sources telling us about that? The therapeutic side.
Right. The research is definitely pointing towards significant potential, especially in assisted psychotherapy. We're seeing trials looking into its use for easing end-of-life anxiety, for terminally ill patients. And there are studies going on right now for depression and even substance use disorders.
That's quite a leap from ancient ceremonies.
Yeah.
But it brings up a big question, doesn't it? If it's natural, does that automatically mean it's safe?
That is such a critical point. And the data, it really highlights a major danger: misidentification. See, nearly all the mushrooms with psilocybin, they're these small brown things, LBMs, little brown mushrooms, super easy to mistake for other mushrooms that are, either just non-psychoactive or, worse, actually poisonous, even deadly.
Wow.
And you've also got to be aware of amanita mushrooms. People sometimes confuse them. They are psychoactive, but it's not psilocybin. They often look quite different, a bright red, maybe yellow with white dots. But some strains of amanita are extremely toxic, lethal even. It just hammers home that point, In an unregulated space, you have to know exactly what you're dealing with. The responsibility is all on you.
That's a really sobering warning. Okay, so let's shift to the experience itself. Assuming someone does consume correctly identified psilocybin mushrooms, what do our sources say about, how long it lasts? The range of effects?
Well, the main effects, they can last anywhere from, say, 4 to 9 hours. But the compound itself, it can hang around in your system for up to 15 hours. And the experiences, they're all over the map, really. Common stuff includes, uncontrollable laughter, visual stuff, hallucinations, and sometimes really profound spiritual feelings. Less common could be maybe confusion, feeling isolated. And then you get rarer things like nausea or even what people call ego death.
Ego death. That sounds intense.
It can be. It's this really profound sense of your individual self kind of dissolving, usually temporary, but yeah, intense.
It's just amazing how varied it can be.
Yeah.
And I guess this brings us right to set and setting, which the sources highlight as paramount. Can you break that down?
Absolutely. It's fundamental. The material really emphasizes this. Your mindset going in set and your physical environment setting, they profoundly shape the experience. Basically, psilocybin tends to amplify whatever you're already feeling or thinking. So the advice is always use it around people you trust implicitly, be in a safe, comfortable environment, and ideally have someone sober there, a trip sitter, just in case. The sources also mention something called wood lover's paralysis, or WLP. It's rare, linked to certain species. It causes temporary muscle weakness, which can be alarming, obviously, but it typically passes without lasting problems. Still, it really reinforces why having that safe setting and support is so critical.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so pulling all this together, the history, the effects, these risks, what practical advice, what harm reduction steps do our sources stress?
Yeah, for harm reduction, if someone's using recreationally, the typical dose they mention is around 1 to 2.5 grams of dried mushrooms. But the key thing is start low, really low the first time. Gauge the strength because it varies. Always measure your dose yourself. Don't just eyeball it. And making a tea, maybe with some lemon or ginger, that can apparently help with the nausea some people get.
Okay, that makes sense. Start low, go slow.
Exactly. And a major caution is about mixing. Combining psilocybin with other things, stimulants, alcohol, even cannabis sometimes, that can lead to really unpredictable results. Challenging experiences, definitely risky outcomes, and it seems to increase the risk of psychosis too. Best avoided.
Good to know. And finally, what about the bigger picture, legal stuff? What should listeners be aware of there?
Well, it's interesting. Standard roadside saliva tests, they usually don't detect psilocybin, but driving under the influence of any illicit substance is illegal. Period. So the advice is clear. Wait at least 24 hours after the effects wear off before even thinking about driving. Also, something practical the sources warn about, carrying fresh mushrooms. Because they contain a lot of water, they weigh much more. That weight difference means you could easily cross thresholds that attract trafficking charges, even if it's just for personal use. So understanding your rights there is crucial.
Wow. Okay, lots to consider. This deep dive, it really shows psilocybin is incredibly complex, doesn't it? You've got these ancient roots, this modern therapeutic promise that's emerging, but also some really significant risks that demand, well, respect and real caution.
For sure. And I think what ties it all together, especially for you, the learner, is this idea of informed discernment. It applies here, but really it applies everywhere, right? Navigating complex topics, unregulated spaces, whether it's substances or just information online. It's about getting verifiable facts, practicing harm reduction, not just with substances, but with information too. Knowledge really is power here.
So for you listening, maybe the ultimate takeaway is that digging into the how, the why, the what if, like we do with psilocybin today, it's just crucial for making educated choices.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, doesn't it, what else might be out there waiting for you to uncover if you bring that same level of curiosity, that same critical thinking to other new topics you encounter.